Before I get into everything today, I thought that I would just really quick tell you guys how grateful I am for all the feedback from my last vlog. The more that I'm encouraged from you all to keep making content that's maybe a little bit more on the personal side, then the more comfortable I feel to open up. And so to have your comments, your likes, your suggestions when I'm asking like, what do you want to see on a more personal level? Then it's like, okay, I can breathe, I can share, I can not worry about all of the silly things about like algorithms and does this resonate or any of those types of things when I'm trying to create things that are valuable and bring actually something to the table that is maybe a bit different. That's actually a huge theme that I want to get into at a different point, like a little bit later on, about the idea of bravery and cowardice and how to choose one over the other. So we're gonna go deep a little bit later. First, I wanted to ask a question of the day. So this is something I want to start doing. I had the most brilliant question asked in my comments, and I thought that I would bring it to the table. So put your answers down in the comment box below. But the question is, what is it in your life that you always think is the most important thing that you want to invest in? So for this person, they're a chef. So the food quality, no questions asked, don't worry about the price. They are going to always choose quality when it comes to their food. So for me, the answer was more like coffee. I always will invest in quality coffee. I can tell the difference just because I was a barista at one point in my life, and so I always can enjoy a good cup of coffee, and the like darker and the bolder the better. Like I like very dark, beautiful coffee with lots of flavor. And then obviously clothes, anything that's made with a certain level of artisanship, craftsmanship, things that are really lovingly made. I can tell a difference at this point in my career and in my life. So I always look for that when I am shopping for clothes. But that isn't always true for everybody else. I think that other people might have things that they prioritize, whether that's like a car or I also think friendships. Like if I have the most beautiful friendships with a few people, Zach and I both, like we would rather invest in a few people very well than like lots and lots of lots of people. I think that I made that mistake in college. Like I just had lots of friends, but all of that was a little bit, you know, surface level. I never got to go really deep with a lot of those people. And so it was really fun to be able to realize that the older I got, that if you find some really quality friends, to keep investing in them, and both in time, money, whatever, like no questions asked. So that's like, those are my three: good coffee, good friends, and good clothes. So write down yours in the comments below and just let me know, like, what are the things that you would always invest in, no questions asked, like what are your priorities in your life? As for today's outfit, I am wearing an old shirt and some new jeans. So the shirt is an old J. Crew mercantile piece, and I like to wear this one a lot because while it's just a basic button down, it's really heavy cotton, and so that makes it very warm but yet very breathable and really easy to take care of too, because I can just freshen it up with things like OxyClean is something that I always use on my white clothes. By the way, if you want like more information on how I take care of my clothes, let me know that. And then for the jeans, these are new. They are Everlane, and I really like their way-high jeans. I feel like they're really nice cut for a straight jean, and they're charcoal. There's not a lot of distressing on them, so that makes them really beautiful for that. And then also I am wearing this old belt that is from Cezanne. I don't know if you can see it, but I love this belt so much, and they don't sell it anymore. So everyone's like, what kind of belt is that? Where can I find that? And I am always like scratching my head trying to find where I can find a similar belt to this one. But I love this style because it's Western. It's thinner than a lot of my other belts. And by the way, some people ask me like how thick a belt should be. my tip for how thick a belt should be more on your torso length. It has less to do about your body shape to a degree. It has less to do about if you are petite or not. And it has more to do with that torso length. So I have a long torso, so I can get by with like a 3-inch thick belt because it's just not consuming the distance between my ribs and my hips. So it depends more on that. But this is kind of a thinner belt than what I normally can wear. But I wear this one all the time. So this one's like about 1 inch thick, and I just love all the ornate details on it. My friend was raised on a ranch, and so she always looks at this belt with like so much nostalgia because her brothers and her father would always wear it. So altogether, this is very like Western look, but yet still very basic, and I like the cut of it. I like to tuck in a top like this. I also like to take the sleeves and just fold them up a little bit because that makes it look more lived in. And for tops like these, the more skin that I show seems to feel a little bit more natural when it comes to a button down, especially because most tops like this are a little bit too long on me. So if you are like me and you're always feeling like you're drowning in a button-down top, then just roll the sleeves up a bit and maybe keep the neckline a bit open. As for my jewelry, I just have a few pieces on that I will link in the description box, but it's just a mix of like black and white pieces, lots of gold, and I also love this necklace here that just brings a little bit of something ornate to something that's otherwise very much not. And for my makeup, I have been doing more of an everyday look. I just restocked my Merit Perfection stick. It's like a foundation concealer sort of stick, and it is a dream. So I will definitely link that down in the new shopping tab that YouTube has. So you can click on that and get straight to it. And maybe that'll make life a little bit simpler, but I love that. I also have been loving YSL for a lot of their beauty line. I love anything that their eye products have. Like, I love their crush liner, and I also only wear their eyebrow pencil. I wear other things on my eyebrows, but that is like the one thing I would go on a deserted island and wear is their brow pencil. So other than that, I have a whole box of jeans to try on for you, and I'm just really excited because my body has been going through so many changes as far as I've been eating differently, I've been going to the gym 5 days a week, and so that has been like such a huge mood lifter for me, but it also is making it to where a lot of my jeans or my shirts not only don't fit and they have to be tailored, but I wouldn't necessarily choose them as a design option when it comes to what I would dress my new proportions in. And so I'm finding so much information in that, like things I thought I knew, I'm learning, and it's just fun to be able to dress in different body styles so that I can really bring more information to you guys as far as what to do or not to do based on how you want to exaggerate or accentuate or fade different parts of your body, because I am learning on the fly and it is amazing. Okay, I want to talk through the Everlane jeans that I found. So these are the way high straight jeans. I really prefer the straight jeans, and they have a couple of different options. One has more stretch to it, and the other is the rigid jean. So it's more like that mom jean, like hard denim, no stretch, and a button fly. And I'm preferring the button fly. I'm preferring something that has a little bit less stretch to it. And my opinion on that is really based on how the booty looks, because I feel like it's just a little bit more roomy in the non-stretch version. So I've got the rigid version on now, and I'm really happy with the design. There's not any real whiskering on it, which is brilliant. It's going to not over exaggerate my hips there. That's usually a design that will. So this looks beautiful there. It's just my preference really. And as far as the pockets, nice big pockets. So when you're thinking about what kind of pocket that you want on your jeans, then think about where you want the emphasis to be. If you want your booty to look a little bit more in proportion, like what I want to say is, if you choose a bigger pocket, it will reduce the size of the cheeks. And if you use a smaller pocket, it's going to emphasize the size of the cheeks. And then the placement's really important, because if they were to put even a large pocket further down, well, that is going to flatten things, and it's going to also put a lot more of the visual weight down further. And if they were to put the pocket up higher, then that's where the visual weight will be. So I feel like, haven't done a full examination, but it feels like they are a large pocket that's mostly on the top half. So that's a little bit of a crash course in jean shopping, and you might realize what you like or dislike about jeans you own, and that's what's really going on there. As far as the length, I like to use the long length because then I can style it with these more heeled boots, and I'm always wearing a heel with my jeans. I don't normally wear them with flats or sneakers, so I like to choose that long length. And even as a petite, I feel like it's completely fine to style with. As for the size, I went with a 24, and the main reason I did that is that the 25s were gapping a lot in the back, and this one is nice and contoured, and I feel like it still is comfortable to sit in, but it is actually something that's a high rise that is hugging my waist, and that is so hard to find when you've got a 12-inch difference between your waist and your hips. Okay, I wanted to show you one more color of these. These actually do have a lot of the whiskering that I was talking about. You see these lines? You see how they are making that look like I've had these jeans for years? Well, that's actually some very widening horizontal stripes right here. So if you want a little bit more of a curvy look, then that is going to do it. Also on the thighs, par for the course with things that are distressed jeans is you've got something that's much lighter here. Now that's gonna do one of two things. That's either going to emphasize the thigh area, or else it's going to make it look very contoured, like the sides are much more narrow, but it seems like they have this lighter version, lighter coloring, reaching to all the way to the end. So I think that that's going to be a little bit more curvy. Like this is more of a curvy jean. Obviously lighter jeans in general are more widening. So it's just something that is maybe a different person's jean. I like this design. I think that it's fine. Of course, I like the cut because it's just like the ones before, but I do think that they're the regular. Hold on. Yeah, so these are the regular length. I just checked the ones before it. They were not the long, they were the regular length too. So that's kind of what that looks like, just for a point of reference. And I would say that I really do like the rise of this, and I am happy with this shade and even with some of the distressing, just because I've been able to really work with my proportions now in a different light, and because of my hip width decreasing, then I can add more emphasis here, and it's not going out of proportion with things like this top. By the way, this top is an Everlane piece, and I really do love any sort of wrap top. Wrap tops look excellent on every single body style, and I love the ribbed texture of this too. Like if you can tell here, you can really get an idea of all of the beautiful ribbing, and what that's going to do is when it comes to styling it with different cardigans or jackets, then you're going to be able to get some texture even on a piece that is a neutral color. So yeah, I've been loving the wrap tops, and I have another color of them, and I'm not quite convinced that I will keep the color of this in stock, but that is a really beautiful color. I just really like the more basic white one that I think I'll always have and be able to wear all year long. This one would be a little bit more seasonal in my opinion. Okay, I just want to show you one more of the Everlane pieces. This one is the stretchy version, and so let's just compare that next. Okay, so you can tell that this one fits a little bit different. I would say that the biggest difference, and why I am not going to keep these ones necessarily, is that there is more gapping here in the back. Like I can like fit my whole hand back there. And so that is just not something that I'm looking for. Like, I would want to get that tailored if I were really serious about keeping this pair. And then I also felt like in the booty, like if I come up and show you, the booty feels a little bit crammed in there, which, because it's got a stretch, that might not be that way permanently. So it does have stretch. It is going to loosen up with time, but at what point? Like, I've already got this too loose, and I'd rather just have the rigid jeans that are more made to have the curve. But this feels pancake to me, like not thrilled. I am thrilled about the color. I do like that it's just that nice clean wash. And this is the cropped version. So you can tell I put on these boots just for reference, so you could see kind of where they hit on me versus the regular length. And then that is going to really look beautiful when trying to show off a nice shoe like this one. But I would say I do get a little bit nervous about wearing lighter boots with something that is so heavily dyed like this, like bright blue jean, because then that's just going to get on my white boots, and then when it's summertime and I want to pop these shoes out, it's going to have that blue hue at the top. And so I'm very careful about which jean I wear with something like that. And then you don't get the button fly, and so I feel like this doesn't look quite as high end and high class as that beautiful button fly would have been. Okay, I have one more pair from A Goldie that I just want to show you as well. Okay, these are the A Goldie 90s loose fit jeans. I have worn them for years in a different size, and so I wanted to try what the 23s might be like, and what better time to try it than when I'm a little bit bloated and emotional. So, off to a great start. I have always liked the color of it, even though it does have a little bit of the whiskering. As far as a lighter jean, this is a really solid pair. It's got that button fly that I like. It's got a little bit of these little distressing marks here. So if you want a jean that has a little bit of like holes and a raggedness to it, then this is a really great option without it being like everywhere, rips in the knees. I like rips in the knees, but not everybody does or can wear them for their jobs and whatnot. The reason why I might not keep them is since they have zero stretch, there is little hope for what's happening in the back. This just feels like it's completely pancaked at this point. And so when looking at the sizing for A Goldie, I always feel like they want you to wear them, like the name indicates, as a loose fit. And that's not necessarily a great look for me who has shorter legs. So having something that's a bit more tight like this is wonderful, except it's not designed to look that way in the back, at least for my butt. Maybe for somebody else's this would be like the dream pair, but that's what's happening with me. And since I am like working out and stuff, it isn't something that I want to just like suppress and keep like completely flattened. Although Zach thinks they look good, so I don't know. You can't always trust your man's opinion on things though. So something I hinted at earlier is the concept of cowardice versus bravery, and using that as a concept into my new year. And I think that by and large, if you've followed me over on Instagram, you probably are picking up on some of the hints that I dropped about that earlier. Basically, last November, I lost access to my Instagram, and I told you guys about that here on YouTube. And during that time, Zach and I were like, wow, like all of our work on that was completely gone. Like we had lost access completely. And then we were able to get in touch with some people at Meta who then got our account back a few weeks later. But for those like 3 or 4 weeks, we were really sweating it, like, wow, like that's completely gone. And we realized in that moment that the one thing we wish that we would have more of is more courage to just be able to create things and have more freedom with that, because otherwise, what's the point? Like we had quit our jobs where we had bosses. And so now we want to really celebrate the idea of taping what we want, having that creative freedom, having that drive every day. And there was a quote that really resonated with me recently, which is, obviously we've all heard that to do the same thing over and over again with expecting a different result is a form of insanity. But the quote that I love is that it reinterprets that. It moves beyond insanity and into cowardice. And I love that so much because we think that we are trying to be brave by like using strategy and trying to think creatively in a very like narrow vision of what we're focusing on, of what we're creating. But if you've ever created something, no matter what it is, you'll realize how quickly it slips into cowardice. And so in that moment of really realizing maybe my Instagram was gone forever, we were like, you know what? We've always called ourselves in this channel Dearly Bethany because it felt like a letter from a friend that I would be writing to you. And I really was craving friendships when I first started this channel with other women because I worked in an office that was like all men, and I just was like ready to talk about clothes and other things that women want to talk about together. And so that's really where this began, but it moved into cowardice because that's just how everyone knew me, was as Dearly Bethany. And so in that moment, I shared with some of you that I wanted to own this new name, which is Bethany Leonardo. Leonardo is a last name in my family, and I'll get to that in a second. But what I love about it so much is that the definition or the translation of Leonardo is brave as a lion. And so in that moment when I lost my account, like this huge thing, I wanted to just live that out, like my ancestors lived it out. And I know the battles that they were in, I know all that stuff, which again, I'll get to in a second. I'm trying to not get ahead of myself. But I love that idea of just embodying bravery. And even in my style course, I shared so much about style bravery, about not dressing like everybody else wants you to dress, but dressing as a way that honors you and communicates the things that you like to the world. So there's no part about anything that I create online that doesn't have something to do with bravery. And so the last thing that I want to do is only call myself Dearly Bethany forever, in hopes that people recognize the name or are familiar with everything that we've created or know what to expect from me, when really you know me as Bethany. And so that friendship of being a pen pal isn't going away. It's just that now I can introduce you with a last name. And so where that whole thing came from really was in 2021, I decided to learn more about my ancestry. I knew before then that my great-grandfather was a mystery in our family, but we did have like this little passport of his travels, where he was going to go, and little things like that. And we just knew his name, which was Richard Leonardo. And what I didn't know is that in all of my research, I would find his obituary where it said that he wrote 10 books, and he wrote them mostly when he couldn't sleep at night. I also learned that he loved like pretzels and Pepsi. That's just a side note. But what I did learn is that they were all about surgery, and his major book was A History of Surgery, which was the first English translation of a history of surgery that we have. And so it became something that like everyone in college related to that subject had to read. And so he was just this like amazing writer, and he had traveled Europe and then wrote about all of the things that he learned there because he studied abroad. And so I found this book, which was An American Surgeon Abroad, that he wrote in 1942, and which, you know, this is so interesting because he wrote about all of his European travels, and he published this in the middle of World War II. So all of his stories about World War II are not knowing what's going to happen at the end of the war, and just his own perspective of things currently at that time, and then when he went to Europe in 1924 and then in 1939. And so it was like, we didn't know who this person was in our family. And then I get a personal like journal account of all of his travels in Europe and different things that he had to face when there, especially in 1939, that were incredibly brave. And he was just an amazing man, and so I was able to give a copy of this book to my mother, who never knew her grandfather. She didn't know anything about her grandfather. She didn't know that he was a surgeon, that he wrote books. We just had that little like passport photo from him. And so, yeah, that was just why I really wanted to double down on that Leonardo name. And I'm hoping that one day I'll be able to actually go on the same journeys that he went on, like in a step-by-step way. And in some of it, he actually was riding on a wagon. So I hope I can like actually live it out in the way that he did it. That would be super fun. Anyways, I just wanted to give you that backstory as far as my family and as far as the name Leonardo and what it means as far as bravery and what it means on a bigger scale of what I want to talk about more of on this channel and also over on my Instagram. Oh yeah, and one more thing that I wanted to say was that when I announced my new name on Instagram, which is Bethany X Leonardo, I realized in my pocket this little thing that I thought was a receipt. I pulled it out of my pocket. It was a note I wrote to myself last January when we were doing something brave, which was buying this house. I wrote this note to myself which said, "For God didn't give us a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and self-discipline." And when I tried to live that out for myself, I realized that those three random things, that fear is not love, fear is not power, and fear is not self-discipline. I'm always lacking one of those things if I find myself afraid. And so I just was amazed that the day I announced my new brand about bravery, I find a verse in my pocket about fear and how to choose those other things instead. And so that was like such a relief to me to realize that it's going to be okay. I can change my name, I can be creative, and you know what? If something disappears tomorrow, I know that I won't have regrets because I embodied power in that moment, or love, or I showed up every day and taped. And so that's really my goal this year, is just to put myself out there more, to bring you guys along. And I'm really hoping that I can go to at least Paris, but definitely through Italy, where everything really all began with my family. So hopefully I'll be going to Europe this year. Fingers crossed. And I also wanted to show you my outfit real quick. So right now I have a cat suit on, and I also have a blazer and then some really awesome high-heeled boots that are knee-high. And I know I've got videos saying not to wear knee-high. That's a story for a different day. But I do love the whole look of this. For starters, this blazer is an amazing color. Like, I don't know if you can really tell, but it's like this beautiful plum, and it's got this beautiful like plaid design on it, which is comprised of red and blue and a little bit of these purple notes and then a deep brown. So I love this so much because it's more contoured than a lot of other blazers normally are. And then underneath, I wanted something that was maybe a little bit like more casual. So I went with a cat suit, which is a really great loungewear piece. Really, when the blazer is closed, this just looks like it is a legging ensemble, you know, but I think because of that, it really works well because I've got these boots that bring that edge back to it and a little bit more of something formal. So underneath, you can tell, like you can see this blazer open, and I kind of like the look of it closed better, but I wanted to show you that I really like the lining inside it, and just the whole thing just makes me feel like a boss lady for moments in my day when I need to be sitting at my desk, I need to be comfortable, but I need to be leaned into what I'm doing, which is that idea, again, of enclothed cognition, where you can enable yourself to do something better just by dressing the part. So yeah, and then let me show you my jewelry. So I have a gold necklace on that is a golden ratio necklace. It's actually a little shell. And my friend Pamela Card makes these, and she does such a wonderful job with creating artful pieces that represent something deeper, and so that's what that represents. For my rings, I wanted some of these black accents. These are onyx and pearl. And then I've got a bee ring on, and then I also have a matching pearl ring right there that is just like this chess piece one. Both of those are from j.hannah. And then I've just got a couple of other ones that are from mejuri. Actually, this bee ring and this one is from mejuri. And so that just makes it feel lovely and dresses up these awesome like thumb holes from the jumpsuit underneath. So the catsuit or jumpsuit underneath is from Amazon, actually, and the boots are from Amazon too, but they're from Mark Fisher. And then this blazer is from Veronica Beard. So very much like dressing up something that is more high street with this awesome blazer, and it really goes a long way when it comes to expressing my style and showing quality. And I'm actually going to end this video here, so don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already. But liking this video really helps me understand if you're loving this new platform, this new way that I'm taping, and bringing you along on a more personal level is so vulnerable. So thank you so much for all of your support with that. And I'll see you in the next one.